Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the latest Arrowverse crossover from the CW, Crisis on Infinite Earths.
This season, the Monitor sends Harbinger to gather the world's greatest heroes in preparation for the impending crisis. And with the world's in imminent danger, the superheroes suit up for battle while John and Alex recruit Lena to help them find a way to save the people of Earth 38. And for us, the crossovers on CW have been the best part of every season over the last few years.
Right.
We've absolutely loved every single crossover.
Right. And even if you do not watch, the CW shows, at least the DC shows, if you watch them all, or you watch some, or you don't watch anything, the crossovers always bring a big audience every year.
Absolutely. And rightly so. The writing is spectacular on the crossovers. And the action is great. The suspense is wonderful. And this season, they decided to do something different. Where normally in previous years, we've watched the crossovers and you get to see the conclusion of it in 1 week. They decided to do a few episodes in December and then wait until the 14th of January to finish off the crossover,
right, which
we were not very happy about.
Yeah, and it was very strange to do that when you were used to watching it every day. Mm-hmm. The whole week would be the crossover. That was the fun event. You were tuning in every night, or if you really want to do it right, pull them all together like one big movie.
Right, and it kind of stopped the momentum of it. And not only did it stop the momentum, but all the excitement that it was in the beginning in December, where you had Kevin Smith hosting an after show and having guests. That was fantastic. But for finishing it up in January, they just punked out and didn't even have it.
Yeah.
And it kind of was a letdown. It wasn't kind of, it was a letdown. Where is our show finishing this off? Mm-hmm. It didn't have it. It was kind of like, okay, this is what happened. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
We came back a month later. We hope you tuned in. And this is it. I wanted another show with Kevin Smith doing the same thing he did in the beginning, with all the excitement and giving some backstory and interviewing guests and people behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. That was really what made this particular crossover even more amazing than in previous years.
Right.
But on January 14th, they decided to just meh.
Yeah, and if you think about it, usually every year there's always this big promotion for the crossover.
Which there was in the beginning in December. There was.
Yes. But then when it got to the later halves, it's just like you gotta get a reminder that comes on. It wasn't just like, oh, you see this online, like don't miss the crossover or anything. Just like you just watch CW 1 week and it just says, oh, don't forget the crossover finishes next week. And you're like, oh wait, that's still going. And you gotta say, the way they had like the last 2 or 3 parts of the crossover were very strange. I get they were really trying to outdo themselves, having something really, really big because they're going to all these different Earths, and with the previous crossovers, you had like everyone coming together on one for one big event, save another world, while this one just did a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, so what I would say is let's talk about the previous ones a little bit before we get to this year's spectacular ending to the crossovers, because it's obvious there can't be any more crossovers. So the first few years we watched, as you said, everyone dealt with a multiverse. Right. And it was like the characters were introduced to a concept they didn't know exists, not counting Flash, of course, because he knew, not counting Ray Palmer because he was aware, but everyone else seemed to be surprised that this reality actually existed.
Right.
And the previous seasons we got to see, for example, Captain Cold, who was in season 1 of Legends, killed off as the hero. I love Wentworth Miller. I was not happy. He returns from another Earth, no longer Captain Cold, but
what did they call him? It's been a while now. They just call him Snart now. I don't think he even had a new name. If he did, I really don't remember it.
And he's a kinder, I should say, gentler Snart. And he gets married, and he has a different way of dealing with things. And part of that reminds you of in previous crossovers when he and Barry began to have more of a friendly relationship, and he began to learn things from Barry, and Barry began to learn things from him.
Right.
So we got to see some growth in characters and change in characters, and as we mentioned previously, every single crossover was fantastic and amazing. And the crossover in the previous year before this one, we even had an Earth that was more like Hitler won.
Yes, it was the
and
Earth
there
X.
were so many different people that didn't even exist in this universe. There was no diversity, and there was no freedom, and there was no diplomacy.
Right. And that was a pretty crazy one, considering how each one outdoes the last. And the ones they've had before that, I think they also had, after that, there was one with Superman. They had Superman, Supergirl, Flash, and Arrow, and this is when they introduced Batwoman to the CW Arrowverse.
And she says this time, I was the new kid last time.
Right. And then this year / 2019, they had Black Lightning.
Right. And in previous crossovers, there will always be a show or two that didn't participate and you were disappointed. Well, why isn't everybody part? Why isn't everybody taking place? But this year, they took care of that in every single show except Supernatural on the CW Arrowverse participated. And it was not fun. Like in some previous seasons, you had the crisis, but you had some fun parts, you had some humorous parts, you had some levity. Even with the one as we were speaking of, you still had some levity and lines and things that were going on. But this year, all of that changed because every single other Earth had been destroyed.
Right, and that's what kind of was the sort of downer part of this final crossover. You like the fact that they would get help from all these other Earths and stuff, but thanks to that and Oliver, I guess, restarting the universe, taking a plot line from Voltron, clearly, and it was like a TV version of that and Avengers Endgame. They've kind of wiped out any other possibility of another crossover because now any other show will now take place in a DC universe and possibly with the movies, because now they have all the shows in one called Earth Prime, and you'll get to see more heroes, but they'll all be in the same place. And they were pretty shocked that all this was happening, but everyone else is now in this new timeline where everything was in one place.
Right. Now, I do want to say that in the beginning, when it first premiered, the fantastic part of watching, even though you became aware that every Earth was being destroyed as you were going, there's the original Dick Grayson, there's Kevin Conroy, there's so-and-so, and you were excited, but then you realized that every time you were excited seeing these people who were clearly from different Earths, they were being destroyed.
Right.
So your joy was short-circuited because you were like, they're killing them all. They're dying off. They're being blown up. And the first episode, or the first night I should say, when episodes aired, was the most fun because, as we mentioned previously, you had all the build up and the excitement, and then you had Kevin Smith airing the after show and guest starring. And one of the favorite parts is when they had a diagram showing all the different Earths, and he was going, gone, gone, gone.
Right.
And they're telling which ones were still here and which ones were gone, and which of the guest stars that were appearing, and there were lots of them, and that was fantastic, and we loved it, were no longer existing because those Earths were gone. There was so much fun that first night. It was just really, really fun. And the second night, it was still fun. As I said, your joy was short-lived because you realized that the people you were seeing were being killed off, and then you realized Batwoman had to kill off an evil Kevin Conroy Batman.
That was...
Yeah, we weren't expecting that. We were
worst.
Excited to see him until we found out he was evil.
Yeah, and then he was a killer and stuff, so they finally got their killer Batman, and it was sort of like, you were glad he was on there, of course, voice of Batman, legendary, but in a way, I don't know, it sort of felt like, we know the Batwoman thing for a lot of people are very divided on the show, but the fact that, you found down Bruce in this alternate world and going from hell. Then the one guy that could literally beat everything could not beat this because they literally made him the opposite, and then have the new Bat person kill him off.
Because he wanted to kill her.
Yeah.
And he knew who she was after she was like, Bruce, it's me. And then he immediately wanted to kill her. It was a letdown.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it went. We would have, of course, loved for Kevin Conroy to be the hero as he is in the Batman movies he's voiced over, but alas, it wasn't meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
But we did get some type of solace, I should say, or consolation prize in seeing him with Kevin Smith on the next follow-up show, which was fantastic. And that was fun because we got to see more people who actually work in the background, who do the writing and developing. And that was great because we never seen them, and we got to see just how much they fangirl or fanguy like we do, and how much they really love the DC Universe and the characters in the show. That was fantastic. And as we mentioned, that was so missing when it returned in January. I don't know whose brilliant idea it was not to have a final after show with Kevin Smith and some more people, but that it was almost like they were saying, yeah, well,
we're done.
It's done, it's over. And that, I think, was a really bad decision. I would have loved to have had that final show after this aired. It was great, as we mentioned, because we got to see the appearance of every Arrowverse show. So we had Legends, we had The Flash, we had Supergirl, we had Arrow for the final time, we had, what am I missing?
A Black Lightning.
Well, I was going to mention that last because, wow, we were surprised that Black Lightning got to participate, and we learned why. You had Batwoman, who was the new kid, but she still got to participate, and we had...
Well,
I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's the whole Arrowverse, and you said you had the Legends too. Just what was left of the Legends, I guess you should say, because a lot of them left or died. So.
Well, that'll be discussed in another podcast. This week we're having on the CW Arrowverse Legends.
Right.
So it was great to see that they actually allowed Black Lightning to be a part of it. And at first we were shocked, but then once you saw the conclusion of the crossover, then it made sense because everyone's a part of the same universe.
Right. And like I said, there were lots of things that did stand out for the crossover. Of course, you'll see all the characters and doing their own thing. You did kind of realize that some of them weren't really the focus character like it was in previous seasons. Like if it was one show, these characters would be the focus, and it's through them. They kind of just put them all together in the show, and it just kept going back and forth between people and didn't really have a focus. And then there was this, we noticed that there was this weird thing going on halfway through the crossover with the characters. They seemed a little bit out of character at times. And they weren't alternate versions, they just, for some reason, they were doing things they weren't usually doing in their respective shows. Even with the influence of universe falling apart, or Lex Luthor for some reason wanted to be the dominant creature of the entire known galaxy. But why do you want to do that? You just wanted to take out Superman. Why do you want to dominate all existence now?
Well, because Lex Luthor has always been this larger than life character. That wasn't so weird for me because, I mean, you think about every version you've seen him in, he always extrapolates and wants to be the numero uno person. What was a shock is that he would risk everything to change it with the book, so that he could replace Superman and he'd be a part of it. That there was a shock. That was like the ultimate
change
in narcissistic, self-centered, me ness as you could ever get, and you were surprised by that.
And then the thing with Oliver, we know this was his final crossover, and the mantle's passed on to his daughter with a now, I think, possibly an all-female cast. And Oliver came back one final time to save the universe, and that was another weird thing, too, because people were very confused on the direction it took. I mean, they already told many times this was going to be it. Oliver was going to be gone, saving the world. So we knew it was coming. But then when they had this comeback with him temporarily, the portrayal of it was very just weird. People were just so confused. They were like, what the heck is going on? Why is he suddenly this all-knowing being? We didn't see this. He's just gone. Now he's back. Now he's going to save the universe, which seems a little familiar. It was just so weird. People were like, what the heck's going on?
I think why it was so weird because you didn't get any build up to how this happened. You weren't told how he became this all-knowing being. It's just suddenly, here he is, this is who he is, accept it.
Yeah.
So if you had seen maybe even a couple of minutes taken to show how he ended up like that, and I know some of you are going to go, well, didn't you see the part where he was back in the universe like he was on the island? Yes, we did see that. That's not an explanation. That's showing me a scene. Mm-hmm. I would have wanted to know why and how, and seen something that depicted how this came about. So right. I agree with you and others on that.
Right.
What I thought was fantastic was seeing different Superman versions. I was really happy to see Brendan Ruth play Superman. I personally loved when he played Superman after Christopher Reeve. I thought he was great. I'm so sorry that he wasn't well received, but I really loved his portrayal, and I was so happy to see him play Superman here. Of course, Tyler Hoechlin, I think that's his name, who does the regular Arrowverse Superman. He was fantastic in this. So it was great to see some different, see there were two Supermen in this version.
Right.
And another thing that I thought was fantastic is Tom Cavanaugh, who does all these different versions of, he was called Pariah in here, but these different of Harry Wells, right?
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic actor because I don't care how many times he comes back doing a different Harry Wells, he's different. Mm-hmm. He's brilliant because he's just not playing the character the same and you're just saying, oh, pretend he's someone else. He really carries off the performance of being a different Harry Wells.
Right.
He's a brilliant actor. We became familiar with him in some Hallmark shows where he played Santa Claus years ago. He's just a great actor, and it's just wonderful that they keep him in this universe, in this role, and he comes back every year, and it's a welcome sight to see him, and it's a welcome, I would say, change from some shows because we've never seen this done before.
Right.
This is actually a first, and it works really well, and he is the perfect actor to do this because he's convincing every time. Even as Pariah, he had his own selfish goals, but when he realized what he had done, he kept saying it was his fault. And Tom Cavanaugh, as usual, portrayed this character that really felt guilty and was remorseful and wanted to help straighten it out. And then when he finally had been straightened out, he still felt the guilt and he still wanted to help. Again, he's brilliant at being Harry Wells. He was great at being Pariah. So yet another character he performs.
Right. And I think the last thing I'd like to mention would be... Oh, yeah, I now remember. We kind of mentioned before with some of the shows that DC would have, that a lot of stuff seemed familiar. Like we said, stuff looked like from Voltron or from Avengers and stuff. And a lot of that became very apparent in the crossover with lots of things coming from Voltron in terms of plot, storylines, words they would say that describe how they're doing the universe, and plot lines and threads and characters and shoutouts and stuff. And you're not imagining it. And the reason why it's like that is because during one of the aftermaths of Kevin Smith, they talked to a few of the head writers and producers and stuff, and they asked, hey, this is like, Arrow's kind of like the Iron Man of the Arrowverse. Is that on purpose? And they were like, yeah, it kind of is. And of course you brought people grow, no matter which company they work for, there's got to be fans of both Marvel and DC. But it kind of turns out that the reason why you're seeing so many references and rip-offs from Marvel or My Hero Academia or all these other shows and movies and comics is because that is really how a majority of the shows are written for the Arrowverse. And at first you were kind of just stunned, like, well, we knew you were doing a bunch of stuff, but I didn't realize that was like 90% of your script is references, parodies, or shout-outs. Like, where's the original plot stuff coming in?
Right.
Because then you're going to have Flash, and then he's going back to the same thing he was doing in season 1, and you pretty much retconned your entire series.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a shock that, everything that you know doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So not only has Oliver gone and Arrow is gone, but everything you knew about the whole Arrowverse, like you said, from season 1 of every show, is invalid.
Yep. All that matters is what's happening now. So we were kind of stunned on that. The multiverse is no more in the Arrowverse. There's only the Earth Prime and the DC Universe. That is it. There are only 2 things, and they're completely separate from each other and non-coexistent. Wow.
The last thing that I would like to mention is that I never in a billion years expected DC or CW to borrow from My Little Pony. Each one had a different, you're hope, you're this, and the power of friendship, and it's like, what?
What?
My Little Pony!
Like, what? Since when are you paragons of anything?
And yeah, paragon was a nice way and a fancy way of saying it, but they were the different aspects of My Little Ponies, and friendship is magic. That's exactly what it was.
My little heroes on crisis!
Now, that being said, the last episode let you know that for each show you're going to watch from now on, everything's going to have an aspect of the crisis crossover in it, because this is the after effects. So basically every show now and every episode will be dealing with some after effects, which we've gotten to see recently in Supergirl and
Arrow
and Batwoman.
And yeah.
So yeah, it's turned out to be interesting. I mean, I really liked the Batwoman episodes, the last 2. That was interesting. And the Supergirl one with the Brainiacs, that was interesting. Mm-hmm. So I'm really hoping they can do a great job with this. I'm guessing they wouldn't have done it if they didn't figure they could. Mm-hmm. So we'll get to actually see it in action. And we are sorry to see the CW crossovers go. It's always been a great, wonderful part of the year we've looked forward to.
Right.
Every year, we just sit and wait.
Right.
Can't wait for the crossover. Can't wait for the crossover. Can't wait for the crossover.
Right.
And now it's like rest in peace.
Yeah, because this is basically the Avengers Endgame of Arrowverse. This was to close out all of the shows simultaneously in terms of crossing over. Some of them, most of them will still be going, minus Arrow, of course. And you're getting new series like Stargirl, Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. You got Titans, even though no one wants to see that. You got
well, I think Titans has the dedicated audience on the DC platform. They've got an audience because they keep getting renewed. It may not be our cup of tea because it's not showing the Dick Grayson we like or so forth. But yeah, they've got a dedicated audience. So
yeah. So if you have,
and last but not least, we'd like to welcome Black Lightning to finally being a part of the Arrowverse.
Yes.
He was on TV for years, and it was like, oh, he's in a different universe. Oh, he's in a different universe. Well, welcome, Black Lightning. You finally got invited to the party. Enjoy yourself and have a good time.
Right. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tell us what you think of the final crossover of Crisis on Infinite Earths in the comments below if you've seen it.
And let us know, are you disappointed that the crossover is no longer be coming back? Or do you hope that maybe in the future there'll be something else that they substitute for crossovers? Let us know in the comments below what you think.
Right. And be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on new Paws podcasts.
And keep watching this week as we have a few more podcasts to conclude our CW Arrowverse podcast week.
Yes, so thank you so much for watching. I'm Ask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Met her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the